Good afternoon, dear children, fathers, and my dear friends. I am Maheshwari Balan. On behalf of Don Bosco National Forum for Young at Risk, welcome you all to the series of Unspoken. We would like to begin this program with a song from the children of Don Bosco Unwillam, Coimbatore. The name of the participants for the song are Aditya, Kumar, Ashwin, Manikandan, Karthik, Ashun, Kartivaran, Arokya Das, Mahesh, Gautam, Abhinavesh. The song is in Tamil. It talks about the reality of the today's world, where the children are an easy prey for trafficking and in return lose the happiness of their childhood. The song clearly mentions about how difficult it is for the children to believe that what they are going through is not a dream but a reality. Over to Coimbatore Unwillam children.
சிறிய வயசுல திரியும் பருவத்தில அன்பின்றி ஆதரவின்றி பள்ளிக்கூட படிப்புமின்றி அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க வானத்தையே கூரையாக்கி தெருக்களில் அலைந்தோம் எங்கள் சோகமாயிரம் இது கனவு இல்லைங்க எங்க உண்மை நிலைமைங்க இது கனவு இல்லைங்க எங்க உண்மை நிலைமைங்க சின்ன சிறிய வயசுல துளித்திரியும் பருவத்தில அன்பின்றி ஆதரவின்றி பள்ளிக்கூட படிப்புமின்றி அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க நாங்களும் தான் மனிதர் என்று உணர்ந்து கொள்ளுங்க எங்களையும் புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு வாழ விடுங்க நாங்களும் தான் மனிதர் என்று உணர்ந்து கொள்ளுங்க எங்களையும் புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு வாழ விடுங்க கொலை கொலை குற்றங்கள் செய்தவரெல்லாம் கொலை கொலை குற்றங்கள் செய்தவரெல்லாம் நாட்டில் மதிப்பு கொடுத்து தலைவரா ஏற்கும் நிலைமைங்க வருங்காலத்தை கனவில் கூட பார்க்க முடியல எங்களுக்காய் வருந்த இங்க யாரும் இல்லைங்க இது கனவு இல்லைங்க எங்க உண்மை நிலைமைங்க இது கனவு இல்லைங்க எங்க உண்மை நிலைமைங்க சின்ன சிறிய வயசுல துளித்திரியும் பருவத்தில அன்பின்றி ஆதரவின்றி பள்ளிக்கூட படிப்புமின்றி அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க அழகையாளையிரோங்க நாங்க.
That was a really melodious and really beautifully sung song from the children of Coimbatore Unwillam. I'm sure these children might have had a lot of efforts behind singing this. I think I can see children from Coimbatore Unwillam. Are those children from Coimbatore Unwillam? Can you please raise your hands like this? Congratulations, children. Keep working hard like this and keep singing well. It's really happy to Most welcome. Okay. Greater mistake than he who said that nothing can be done because I can only do very small bit. Those who say that I can do only small bit, hence I did not do anything, are the people who are of greatest fault. Keeping in line with the same thought, we from National Forum have initiated the concept of unspoken, an initiative to create awareness on the multiple levels, beginning from the level of children to the staff. I would like
Good afternoon, everyone. Human trafficking is a global issue. We don't realize is that it is more prevalent, complex, and close to. On behalf of Don National Forum for the Young at Risk, I would like to all the children, fathers, staff, and all other individuals present here. As mentioned, launch this year's is intended on the subject of the law deeply by addressing the aspect of the theme prevent trafficking of children. Unspoken is an endeavor in this regard to further the scope of discussion and its quality by focusing on the sub-issues. We plan to conduct this as bi-monthly sessions where we would take particular aspects on how to prevent trafficking and deliberate on it. Has been in such a it helps children to build a related issues of trafficking. Today, we will focus on human trafficking, modern day slavery, an issue that has plagued us in explicit terms for much of history and has continued to flourish as a trade under the surface in modern on Donbas National Forum for you all once again.
thank you, Nana. I am sure this initiative will help us all in being aware and also in creating awareness. Moving forward, I would like to request our speaker, Shruti Rai Chaudhary, to discuss about the topic of human trafficking and modern day slavery. Ms. Shruti Rai Chaudhary has been associated with DBR Forum since more than 1 year and has been helping the organization by being a part of the national office under the project Child Friendly City Initiatives. She possesses immense caliber and expertise in the area of her work. Today, Ms. Shruti will be sharing her knowledge related to the issue of human trafficking and modern day slavery. I am sure that the explanations and the discussion from her side will definitely help all of us to create awareness and also to be aware about the situation. We'll be asking few questions at the end of the session to Ms. Shruti. So if you have any questions from your side, you can either ask after the session ends, or you can also mention the question in the comment box, and we would be asking the same questions to her once the session is over. Over to Ms. Shruti.
Thank you so much, Maheshwari, for that very warm welcome.
This slide, okay?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this talk over human trafficking and how it is related to modern day slavery and why should this be a focus for us. Next slide, please. Next. Yeah. So let us try to understand human trafficking as a basket of crime and how it is related to modern slavery. Next. 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 Another one, Maheshwari. Yeah. So over here, I have listed a few of the issues that kind of fall under the human trafficking ambit. And as we know that all of these things are existing in the world today. We see it on a regular basis, and we are some way or the other trying to make amends towards it, try to protect our children from it. But this is the harsh reality. Let us move ahead to the next slide. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So when we are trying to understand human trafficking, there are 4 major pointers which we should keep in mind. One is transportation, violation of human rights, monetary transaction, and no freedom of movement. Now, these largely would also constitute modern slavery, but how is it applicable to us as human beings or applicable to our children to whom we act as guardians? Now, these are basic violation of human rights because you are being transported from one place to another without you having any knowledge, without your permission. With that itself, your human rights are being violated. Now, you are being bought and sold, and that is why there is the monetary transaction. And for obvious reasons, you don't get any part of the money. And you have definitely not agreed to be sold or be bought by some outsiders. And there is no freedom of movement. So much so that you are not even allowed to go to the washroom without having somebody hold your hand or somebody give you permission to do that, which is very, very unfortunate. Next, please. Over here, I have listed a few of the issues that I feel are leading to human trafficking or is a result of human trafficking. Next, please. Yeah. So these are the reasons why I feel that human trafficking is wrong and it should not happen. Obviously, a lot of us may have more different ideas, more points also, which we shall share at the end of the presentation. But out of all of these pointers, the one point that I would like to focus on is social stigma. So a few years ago, I had gone for a home visit to one of the trafficked girls who had been restored by the CWC. And the parents of this girl didn't even allow us to visit the house. The only reason was that if you come near to our house, all our neighbors are going to start pinpointing and making up stories about our girl. We know that she's not at fault because she was trafficked, but nobody around us is going to believe that. And everybody is going to just socially ostracize my girl, and they are not even going to let us get groceries and eat and live in peace. So this kind of social stigma is real and it exists. And this is something that we really need to keep in our heads while we are working on the field, while we are spreading awareness, because if we do not do away with social stigma, we will not be able to have a good rehabilitation system for our children who are very unfortunately trafficked and are restored back to the community. Next, please. Next. So in the year 2000, in the month of December, you had the Palermo Convention, which was organized by the United Nations General Assembly. Now, for this particular convention, they focused on the transnational organized crimes. And there were 3 particular protocols which were put forth. For our interest, we are focusing on the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially for women and children. Now, the reason why the protocol was brought forward was to put together the national and the state level efforts from across the countries to curb this absolute heinous crime of human trafficking. Now, this protocol mentions the different acts, means, and purposes of human trafficking, as you can see listed on the slide. One very important point that this particular protocol mentions is that a child can never be trafficked or cannot agree to be trafficked. And a child is agreed upon being somebody who is below the age of 18. Just a small trivia while we are still on this slide. With this particular protocol, India ratified this in the year 2011. Whereas our immediate neighbors, Bangladesh, has started the process of ratification only in 2019, whereas Nepal started the process only this year in June. So we are yet to see what happens to our relations with our neighboring countries once they have completely ratified this international standing document. Next, please. As you may see, this is the map of our country, and I have highlighted a few of the metropolitan cities over here. Now, India stands as a source for human trafficking because we do know that a lot of our population falls below the poverty line. So, luring them into different job opportunities, luring them into marriage proposals is in fact very easy, which is why India stands as a source. Now, India also stands as a destination because we have a huge number of traffic victims coming in from Nepal and Bangladesh. Very few probably from Pakistan, very few from Sri Lanka. Now, India also acts as a transit because India has a very good international connectivity. So what happens is that the victims who are brought in from Nepal and Bangladesh majorly are brought into the metropolitan cities of India, and from here they are moved away to the Middle Eastern countries, the UK, the US, Canada as the major countries, and then of course the other countries are also there. Just again a small trivia on this. Most of the trafficking between Bangladesh and India takes place to West Bengal, whereas from Nepal, it's Bihar, Sikkim, UP, and West Bengal. Now, another point that we need to remember is that with Bangladesh, India has a closed border, which means that the borders are fenced and are protected by the border security force. But with Nepal, we have an open border, which is protected by the SSB. Now, if I would have to go to Nepal, I just have to show them my voter's ID card and I will be able to go. Nobody is there to question my movements. Nobody is there to question what I am going to do to Nepal. It is that easy for trafficking to take place between Nepal and India. Next, please. So I'll just share a story of Meena, who was trafficked from Bangladesh all the way to India. Meena wanted to become a dancer and she spoke to her friend Deep. Deep said, "Oh, if you want to become a dancer, let me help you. I'll introduce you to Asha, who is a brilliant dance teacher, and she'll teach you Bharatnatyam." Meena got excited. Now, being the 13-year-old girl that she was so excited that she didn't even tell her parents. She just packed a little small bag with her and she moved away with Asha. Asha introduced her to another lady called Mishti because Mishti gave her the opportunity of dancing at an Indian film festival. Now, Meena, again, being 13, had no idea what it takes to come all the way from Bangladesh to India, what a difficult and an elongated procedure that is, because it is international border. Mishti brought Meena to India, luring her through dance possibilities. And she was unfortunately handed over to Rakesh, who was the owner of a brothel on a national highway in West Bengal. Unfortunately, Meena is not there with us today, but we do get to know, we get to learn from her that we need to be alert, we need to know who our surroundings are, and we should not trust anybody and everybody that easily. And we should always keep our parents informed. Next. Let us try to understand who our traffickers might be. So for a lot of cases, for a lot of girls and boys whom I have met, the traffickers have been the mothers, the fathers, the brothers and the sisters, which is very, very unfortunate. But apart from our immediate family, we also have the agencies, which basically tell you that they're going to give you employment, tourism, placement, and they might just traffic you to a different country. Then we have our relatives, our aunts and uncles, our neighbors with whom we share, the morning balcony tea. We can have our acquaintances, maybe the keeper of the shop from where we get our groceries. We have our friends, and we also have our partners who promise us love, care, and affection, which is sometimes not the actual scenario. Next. So what is the vulnerability that it takes for the traffickers for us to become their victims? Women, we have children, we have vulnerable families who have lower income, and multiple stomachs to fill. We have the undocumented persons, such as the refugees and the migrants. We have the physically and the mentally challenged children and adults who are very easy to mold. And last but not the least, even you and I can get trafficked if we are in a very crowded place and we are not alert of our surroundings. Somebody can just pick us up and go. Next. I have listed here a couple of root causes for trafficking after doing a bit of a research. But the 2 points that I would like to highlight over here, one is lack of awareness. As I mentioned, it is very important to be alert for all of us, of our surroundings, of the people who we meet. It is very important for us to be aware of the processes through which we can be trafficked. It is very important for us to be aware of one basic fact, is that if a stranger offers us an ice cream, we should not take it. That is the basic awareness that I'm talking about. The other one that I'm talking about is negligence towards children. So in Indian families, we have huge families, right? So what happens is that the elder ones often get neglected. The elder ones are often burdened with a lot of responsibility of taking care of the younger ones. I met a girl who once told me that she ran away with this one boy because the boy promised her love and attention, which she was not getting from her parents because her parents were too occupied to earn money to feed the stomach and with the 5 other siblings that she had. So negligence is something that we need to make our people aware of, that they should not be neglecting their children so that we can protect our children from getting trafficked. Next, please. Where can we find our children once they are trafficked? We can find them in the garment industries, the agricultural industries, all the different industrial sites where there's a lot of construction going on nowadays, since we are moving towards building India into a very uplifted nation. We find them in mines searching for coals and diamonds. We find them at the regular traffic signals, the different monuments, religious institutions, begging. We find them in commercial sexual exploitation. We also find them in the entertainment industry and working in factories who produce the fireworks, those fireworks which we use for celebration. We also find them in the hotel industry and as domestic laborers. And finally, we find them in the other 2 transnational crimes. One is the drug trade and the second one is the trade of arms and ammunition. So as non-profit organizations, what can we do? The basic thing that we can start with is campaigning and awareness. Awareness not only for the children, their parents, the community at large, but also for the different levels of bureaucracy, for all the duty bearers who are responsible for our protection and the protection of our children. Next. Next. So we can work towards advocating with the local CBOs, towards our district level government, state level, and the national level, towards setting up local mechanisms for safe migration, setting up different programs for economic empowerment, capacity building of our own staff members, and of course, setting up child protection units with the help of the government or even within the community itself. Next. Now, we do know that our government is working a lot towards curbing trafficking, but it is just not enough. We need the help of the government to do more work. So the one thing that the government can initiate is proper investigation procedures, which definitely should be child friendly, because we have to keep children in the center and their interests in the center. The other ones that the government can do is setting up rehabilitation centers across the districts, because the population that we are dealing with is huge. We already have a lot of anti-human trafficking units. Some of them are functioning, some of them are not set up in most of the states, but our advocacy should be to make the existing anti-human trafficking units more functional, more responsible. And of course, capacity building of the duty bearers who eventually turn to be trainers for our children, for example, the Anganwadi teachers and the ASHA workers. Next. And finally, is to set up task forces between our neighboring countries and India to develop standard operating procedures to make sure that the process of repatriation is easier for the sake of the children so that they don't have to go through a lot of trauma, so that we can save them an extra level of trauma, because what we have in mind is their protection and their well-being. Next. So as children, what can we do? We can always listen. Whenever we have such sessions, we can translate it into the local languages and we can tell our children the different processes. We can explain to our children who the trafficker is, what are the possibilities and what are the different ways that a child can be trafficked. We can have the children observe. Whenever you are around anybody, you should learn to observe and see what is around you. And once that is done, you learn and you speak out. You speak out if you see that there's something wrong. You speak out if you think that something is wrong with yourself. And if you're unable to speak out, you can always reach out to Childline by dialing 1098. And if as a child you feel very quiet and very timid, and if you don't want to speak to anybody, you can always resort to pen and paper. You can write, you can draw, you can paint to express your feelings and to express the information that you want to pass on. And as children, two of the very important things that you should definitely not do, one is don't talk to strangers, and second, never take any sweets, any drinks from any strangers if they are offering you some. Next. With that, I come to the close of my presentation, and I hope I have been able to create a small picture of what trafficking actually is and how the process actually goes on. And hopefully with this campaign that we have this year, we will be able to spread as much as awareness as that we wish to. So hashtag break my chains, hashtag return my dreams. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shruti. I am sure this might have brought in a lot of insight and awareness to the people who are listening. The way you talked about the anti-human trafficking units, the transit points, what the children can do, and also how vulnerable the situation has become for the children as they're getting prey to trafficking is something that I think every one of us right now needs to understand. Because when we're talking about preventing trafficking, it is important that we first understand what are the reasons why it is happening, because working down to the cause of it is more important than working on the intervention plan. I'm sure we all have a lot of takeaway points from your presentation, but while listening to your presentation, one of the points stuck to me, and I would definitely like to about it. You mentioned about what children should not be doing, right? Should not be talking to strangers, should not be taking things, can call Childline. But I would like to ask if by chance a child has got trafficked, okay, or if the child is in the hands of a trafficker, what can a child do at that particular time to escape from that situation? What can a child do at that time?
Okay. That is a brilliant question, Maheshwari. So to answer this question, if I might imagine myself to be a child who has been very unfortunately trafficked, first of all, it is very important for a child to understand that it is not their fault. If a child has been trafficked, the child should not feel that, oh my God, I ran away from home, that's why I am the one who is at fault. It should never be that. Because once you start to imagine that it's your fault, your entire moral breaks down. And if your moral breaks down, you will not be able to save yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing is, whenever you are around these very, very unknown, very vicious, very bad people, you need to listen and you need to observe. This is something that we do on a regular basis while walking down the roads, here and there. So the thing that you need to see is the kind of chairs that are being used, the kind of walls, the kind of noises that are coming. Is anybody mentioning any name? Or are there any cars? Are there any planes? Are there any fans? Little things. When the child observes and listens, what happens is that by chance, if the police comes in for a raid, or if there's any NGO who's, coming with the police for a raid, the child can give them the information. Or by chance, if the child is able to escape, like basically run away, break out from the confined area that he or she has been put in, if they can get hold of any phone number, any mobile phone, any local ID, because as we all know, the Childline is a toll-free number. So go ahead and dial 1098, which is why telling children and making children aware of 1098 is so important. The other thing that one can do is, if you are able to get out of the situation, go and run to the police station. That's the first place that you should run and go to. So I think as a child, these are a lot of points that I mentioned, and I'm pretty sure that if somebody is in that situation, it is very, very difficult to, have your mind straight. But I think the two things that the children should definitely do: one, do not break your morale. It is not your fault of what is happening to you. And second is keep on observing and keep on listening, because that is going to help you and your friends who are there with you, trafficked in your situation, to a great extent.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shruti. That was a really well answered question. And I'm sure maybe talking about these things to our children and making them aware about these things might help them. I definitely feel that, if one gets into such kind of situation, fear does come in, but awareness would at least help them to get out of it rather than just being stuck with it. I'm sure these small points might sound small to us and might look small to us, can make a lot of difference if we taught to the children. Thank you so much for answering that, Shruti. We also have few more questions in the comment section. One of our participants, Ms. Jacqueline, has asked a question saying, what is meant by decent bonded labor? It would be nice if you could just explain what exactly it is.
Yes. So when I was growing up, I often heard from the people around me. Very fortunately, my family, not so much, but everybody who had been working around me, that if you are a cobbler, then your children are going to become cobblers. If you are a manual scavenger, your children will also become manual scavenger. That is basically descent-based labor. So if I, Shruti, am a domestic laborer, my children would be expected to become domestic laborers also, which actually should not be the situation, but that is how our society runs. Because when I was younger, I was told this, that if a person is, a domestic laborer, their children are going to be domestic laborers. Now, I strictly go against it, but yes, that does exist.
Okay, so it's basically like born into it without the will and have to continue with the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a very unfortunate situation. Thank you for answering that too. We also have another question by Mr. John Paul. The question is, what are the environment leading to trafficking?
Okay. One of the environment that I already mentioned in the slide is negligence. You should definitely not neglect your children. I mean, I am such a big girl right now, but I can fairly imagine that if my parents would have neglected me because of my siblings, the kind of mental situation that I would have been. At the age of 13, very fortunately, I was not asked to take care of my siblings, but I do know of so many girls and boys who are made to take the full responsibility of the house. That kind of responsibility should not be given to a child who is 12 and 13 years old. That is a kind of environment that you don't want your child to grow up in. The second kind of environment is any kind of violence. While I was interning with Bosco Money in Bangalore, I came across a couple of children who spoke to me. Very fortunately, they knew Hindi, so we were able to converse. And they told me, oh, I ran away because my parents were fighting day in, day out. I did not like it. I picked up my brother and I ran away to the railway station, from where Don Bosco picked me up. So they are explaining it as a very normal procedure. I ran away because I did not like the violence. But the kind of mental torture that the child might have gone through, And he had that much of maturity to bring his younger brother along with him because he did not want the younger brother to face what he did. So the environment of violence, the environment of abuse, these are the kind of environments that we don't want our children to go into, because you are neglecting children, you're teaching your children that violence is okay. From that environment, it becomes very easy for a trafficker to pick up your children because, as you know, luring children is a very easy task, apparently. You just give them a chocolate and a toffee and they are all yours. Very, very unfortunate.
True, true. Maybe being close to, keeping your child more close to you, parent being more close to the child, interacting with the child, getting to know what exactly the child is feeling or what exactly the child is going through might help the parent to get to know whether the child is having some kind of plan. Because I think somewhere, running away from the house is set up as a way to run away from the responsibilities and to just run away from what a child is feeling. So maybe teaching the child to cope and teaching the child to face the situation is also something that might make the child a little stronger to face the current situation in which he or she is, and to be not to be the prey to the traffickers can also maybe help. Thank you so much, Shruti, for answering that. Well, there are a lot of questions that are coming up for you. There is one question from CFCI Vadodara. And the question is, what is the difference between human trafficking and human smuggling?
Okay. So human trafficking, as I mentioned, includes monetary transaction, transportation, a lot of violence and abuse, and definitely no freedom of movement. Now, when it comes to smuggling, all of the above are applicable. It's just that when it comes to smuggling, at the end, when you reach your destination point, you are actually let free. So if I can traffic you I can bring you from Nepal to India, and if I want you to be in Mumbai, I'm just going to keep you in Mumbai and I'm just going to leave you. So you have the freedom to move around in the city or wherever. That's about it. So that is smuggling. It is not trafficking.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. We also have Father George here, who has mentioned few points related to the descendant bonded labor.
Yes.
I think it would be nice if he himself could tell what he wants to share related to the issue, because I'm sure he has more experience in the area and would be having more knowledge to share. Father, can you please tell us what exactly for you is descendant bonded labor?
Yes.
I think what Shruti explained is excellent, very good, but it is that is actually explaining the caste system. If I am a carpenter, my son has to become a carpenter. If I am housemaid, my daughter or my son has to become a housemaid. That explains caste system. But I think Shruti missed the word bonded. Descendant bonded labor. That I think means, suppose we had so many cases of this bonded labor, especially after the, if you remember the famous ones in Bangalore, after the emergency or during the emergency. A family goes into bonded labor because the father has borrowed money, blah, 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 all those, and he and his family are bonded labor. And he dies or he does not die, but his children also become bonded labor. If the father dies without clearing his so-called debt, the children have to continue as bonded labor. That is descendant bonded labor. That's, I think that's more specific. The other part about smuggling, you may say, then what is wrong with smuggling? Human trafficking and smuggling. Smuggling, the example which Shruti gave about Nepal and India is excellent. But on the other hand, because between Nepal and India, there's a free border, as she explained once earlier. Anybody who wants to come to India, you can come in without smuggling, without paying anybody anything. Just buy a ticket or walk across and go wherever you want. That is India and Nepal. But the smuggling comes to, for instance, what is happening now very much from the Middle East or from Africa. People who want to go to India, who want to go to Europe, or in the Americas, people who want to go from South America, they want to go into the USA, and they are not allowed to migrate just like that. and therefore they pay these smugglers. They pay huge amounts to be taken by boats or through the forest or whatever special routes or through the tunnel under the wall of which Trump is building, to smuggle them through and put them in the United States or in Italy or whatever. That is smuggling. As Shruti said, once they are inside the country, it's up to them to go and do any job or go into prostitution or go into whatever they want, begging or get a proper employment with the try for papers and become legalized and all those things. But the work of the smuggler is to take you from your country and through back doors or so bring you to the country where you want to be. Okay.
Thank you so much, Father George,
Thank you, Father.
explaining that. I'm sure that was more depth and detail, and also for eye-opening and explanation for us also in the area. We also have some points like, definitely mentioned by Shruti that there are various reasons for children being trafficked. Few of the points that we have got in our discussion is also like situations like, disasters or maybe conflicts or poverty or ignorance, media and pandemics can also be a reason for increasing trafficking or can be conducive to the trafficking. So these are few points that we also need to keep in mind that if the children are into such kind of situations, or if children are into the environment where such kind of things are happening, more proneness to trafficking can happen over there, or maybe the children are more open to the praise of traffickers at that point of time. Shruti, we also have a question saying, what are the warning signs of human trafficking? As in, if I put it more precisely, maybe the viewer wants to know what are the kind of signs that a person can get to know when a child is trafficked. Is there any particular kind of signs that a child shows when he or she is trafficked? I think I am explaining the viewer's point correctly, I hope. Yeah.
Okay, so that is again a good question. Thank you, Maheshwari. So, one of the first things that when you meet a new child in a very difficult situation, one of the first things that you would want to know is the name of the child, where the child has come from. So basic identification. So if a child is trafficked, basic identification, basic documents will definitely not be there. That's the first point. The second point is when you start talking to the child about where you're from, every time that he or she gives you an explanation of how they came to, say, Delhi, every explanation is going to be different. I met a girl once, she had been trafficked in from Bangladesh, and I asked her 5 times in a span of, say, 3 hours. And every one of the time that she had said, she gave me a completely different information as to why she was here in India from Bangladesh. So when you know that a child so young as 11 and 12 and 13 years old is giving you different information, you know that there's something wrong. So then you dig deeper into the situation. Another thing is if a child is speaking a different language. So again, speaking of Delhi, if you have somebody speaking not in Delhi Hindi, but in Haryanvi Hindi or in Himachali Hindi, you know that the child is from somewhere outside, right? That's another point. Another point is if a child is very timid and very shy and doesn't want to talk to you, is not making eye contact with you, body language is very, very uncomfortable. If the child is, say, wearing like a t-shirt or a kurta or something, he's continuously, playing with one corner of the kurta, or, playing with the hair, or just, like biting nails. These are very tiny, tiny things that when you start observing them, you know that the child is either hiding something or is not able to open up or is in a lot of trauma. So these are very small things, but when you do notice these things in children or even in adults for that matter, you do know that there's something wrong. Lastly, that I would like to mention is that once a child is in a sheltered home, you do get a lot of information from the child welfare committee, from the police who has brought them in, from the childline who has brought them in. So you get to know a lot of information about if the child is actually trafficked, or is it a runaway case, or is it, a different case when you do the home visit, when you go and visit the parents or the guardians of this particular child. But that is obviously in the long run. But immediately, if you want to see a child and know that if it's a trafficking case or not, I have mentioned a few pointers.
Thank you so much, Shruti. I'm sure these points would help all our viewers over here to have at least some awareness or some understanding about how they can help up if a child is being trafficked, or if they come across a child who they feel is very uncomfortable with the environment and can be possibly trafficked. I'm sure preventing and talking about prevention at this point of time is very important. We do know that the situation is over here, but how to prevent it and what steps can we take to prevent this is something which is very important. And even though sounds very was that prevention can be easily prevented, but I am sure that there are various level of things that goes in it, be it government or be it we as an individual creating awareness in terms of the children. But it's a multi-layered task and not just the task of one particular individual. Shruti, from your side, do you think there can be any particular thing which can help in preventing such kind of issues in future? Like if our children are into such kind of situations, what would you do as a parent to prevent that the child does not get into trafficking?
Okay. The first thing is make my children or any other children, like right now, I am surrounded with so many children of my brothers and sisters, but the first thing that I need to make sure is that the child is comfortable with me as an aunt, me as a mother, as anybody, as a sister, anybody. The child has to be comfortable with me. I should not be an image of like a Hitler, like, oh my God, aunt is here, I can't talk to her. It should not be like that. You need to make your child feel comfortable, because once the child is comfortable with you, he or she will speak of their necessary issues. If they are feeling that somebody is not very comfortable, you need to have that kind of a window. The second point is definitely awareing my child about trafficking, about who a trafficker is. Do not leave my hand when you are in the crowd. Do not take food from the strangers. The basic things that we also were taught as young children. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shruti. That was very well answered. And I'm sure as me, I think our viewers also feel that you have very well answered. You definitely, these questions and these informations have definitely going to help us in future also. We have Father Joe Prabhu, who has mentioned that he wants to add something to what you have said. Father Joe, we will be just taking Father Joe for the comment that he would like to share with us. Father Joe, can you please share what you would like to say?
Thank you, Mageshwari. As I was working in the national office itself and for this homeschooling project on the missing children, I realized that this human trafficking is a kind of an illegal, organized, underground movement or a business, and it is well networked. It is not as we think it is a simple thing that some people. It's a well network of people, even if it's in Nepal or Bangladesh, and having connection with Calcutta, Bangalore, major cities. And it's a perfectly organized network. We can learn a lot from the way they organize things. So the thing is that it is a complex issue. That's what I would like to bring to our attention. We have to know their tricks of trade, how they do it. Then only we can make interventions. It is easy to say that you can prevent this one, but we have to go a little more deeper into this issue and find out what is the tricks that they are using. Then only we will know how to counter-react to this situation or counter-respond to this situation. That's my feedback. So otherwise, I would like to congratulate Shruti for a very beautiful and simple, and it is a very easily understandable presentation. I'm sure that this is going to be a series of this one. So we can take it up in the later stage also. How to look at the complexity involved and how can we learn how these things are done so that we can come up with a counter reaction or a counter response accordingly to address this or to arrest this issue. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Father. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Father.
Father. And yeah, Shruti, I think rather than me saying, all the people themselves are saying that the presentation was really good and understand a lot. And Father Joe Prabhu mentioning that the presentation was very easy to understand. Also, somewhere achieves our aim of making it understand to the children. Also, the presentation also had an hidden intention of making it to be understandable to the children also, and I'm sure it will reach out to many people. And thank you so much, Shruti, for sharing your experience, for sharing the knowledge, and also for helping us understand about this concept. I'm sure this time is for explaining about this concept, but thank you so much. You summarized it up in really nice manner. Thank you so much, Shruti. Okay. So I would just like to request Srinath now to give the vote of thanks from on the behalf of DBR National Forum to the viewers. And Father George, probably after the vote of thanks, maybe we could we could listen to what you would like to say, Father, if that's okay with you. Over to you, Srinath.
Yeah, thank you, Maheshwari.
Welcome.
First of all, I consider it as an honor to give a vote of thanks on behalf of DBR Forum in the first session of the Unspoken series. And in this first, I would like to thank Ms. Shruti, the project officer of Child Friendly Cities Initiative, for the beautiful introductory session of human trafficking, a modern day slavery. She has explained about this social menace and pointed out what is wrong in human trafficking and also the physical and psychosocial hazards in the human trafficking. She has clearly mentioned the source and transit destination of human trafficking in Indian subcontinent. It would help us to prepare the prevention and intervention plans in these geographical areas. Explanation on the roles of government and NGOs would help us to understand the different provisions under the legal framework and the responsibilities vested on the NGOs and the civil society. Thank you, Sudhi, for sharing your knowledge and expertise. A round of applause goes to all the participants who showed the enthusiasm and keenness to understand more on this topic. Participants utilized question and answer session effectively to make more clarity on the presentation. It is very fortunate to have an audience like this. Thank you all the participants. Next thanks goes to the protagonists among the participants, none other than the children from various homes. They came to learn and spread the learnings to their peers. Congrats, dear children. Special thanks to the children from Don Bosco and Bullam who performed the song in the beginning and the last of our session. They proactively participated and expressed their views and concerns through the song. Thank you, Brother Vimal and Brother Roshan from Don Bosco and Bullam, Coimbatore, who assisted the children to express their opinion through this performance. And thank you, Father Salvadore, director of Don Bosco and Bullam, Coimbatore, who eagerly agreed with the request from the DBR Forum to have a visual performance from the children of Don Bosco and Bullam. I extend my thanks to all the management and staff members of Don Bosco institutions who participated in these sessions. Last but not the least, I thank all our YAR coordinators for spreading the invitation of this session in your respective provinces. We are looking forward to get more support in the upcoming events of our YAR campaign. As you know, we are planning to have 2 sessions of this Unspoken series on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of each month. This occasion I would like to utilize for announcing the next episode of our series. Next episode of this series, Unspoken series, is on 25th September 2020. Please note that 25th September at 3:30 p.m. Theme of the session is child trafficking and the sustainable development goals. We have a good resource person. That is none other than Ms. Maheshwari, researcher of DBR Forum. So we are looking forward to meet all of you in the upcoming meeting. We would share more details and the link of the upcoming meetings at the earliest. Once again, God bless.
Thank you, Srinath. And we look forward to meet you all on 25th on the topic child trafficking and sustainable development goals. Looking forward to see you all again on 25th. Before closing, I would just like to ask Father George to share his comments related to what he wanted to share.
A thought that passed through my mind was Shruti mentioned that the trafficking goes on all the time, but there is spiking of the trafficking when disasters take place because the people are more vulnerable. At the General in Rome, we have a protocol, emergency response protocol. Officially, from the congregational side, I am the coordinator of that. I am coordinating, for instance, right now, all the work of the solutions for COVID all around the world is coordinated by me from here, from Rome. What I mean is this: can we have at least, I don't say a structure, but a protocol, something in mind, maybe written down, talked about, spoken about, reminded, a focus, so that if a disaster takes place somewhere in our country, like for instance in Assam when there was the ethnic conflict and 400,000 people in camps, there is a spike. When something like that happens, that Guwahati, the people in Assam, our yard, they are particularly conscious about this and start awareness, working full time, not only distributing food and this and that and so on, but working with earnestness about for awareness building more than anything else among the children and the parents to prevent it. And if required, with the help from the YAR Center and others and so on. But to keep this in mind, to be alert to disasters taking place in anywhere in our country, and at that moment not only think of food and the other things, but this aspect of preventing child trafficking. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you so much, Father. No, Father, actually, I'm sure that this idea is really good, and maybe we should be thinking about this in future. This is definitely the future step that we should talk about, because this will lead us towards the prevention. So thank you so much for sharing your idea and telling us, maybe giving us an idea about what maybe we can see in future as an opening for us to work with. Thank you so much, Father, for sharing your point. We are really humbled to see the sharings that you do, and I'm sure that it is going to benefit all of us over here. Thank you so much, Father. And thank you to all the participants here. Thank you for being such a patient listeners. We would also encourage, if more and more children are participating in the coming days along with the staff and other people, so that they can also be aware about the situation, because the area where we are working, we are directly working with the children. So it's important that we get to understand the situation and also how and what our children are going through when they are stuck in such kind of situation. We are trying our level best to make all the presentations in as much easy format as possible so that it can reach to most of the people possible. Please make sure that you engage more children and your staff into the same. And to the people who are asking us questions related to the presentation, we will be sharing the presentation, but it would be shared in a video format. So if you want to share the same presentation with your staff or with children, you can convert it into your language and share it on your own personal media platforms. Soon we will be sharing video of the same with everyone over here. We would be also circulating Google form, which would be mentioning if you are interested in having source material that we are using in this campaign. If you are interested in having resource material, you can enroll with that Google form. So we will be circulating that Google form. Please try giving your email IDs and your number so that we can directly get these resource materials to you, so that it is not just we who are benefiting, but it is also the others who are involved with benefited from this day. Thank you so much, and thanks for making this a successful event. Thank you so much, participants. And special thanks to children from Coimbatore Anvil.
ரொம்ப நன்றி. நல்லா பாடுங்க. Yes. Congratulations.
Thanks to you, actually. Ambo, thank